Chapter 1. The Age of Ocean Giants. The story of the Titanic does not begin with an iceberg, nor with a ship. It begins with a dream of conquering the Atlantic. The year is 1907. The world is changing, expanding. Cities buzz with new energy. Steam and coal power the future. Empires span the globe. The rich ride in carriages, the poor gather in tenements. And in this world, a handful of companies rule the oceans. The White Star Line, Cunard, Hamburg, America. These were not just shipping companies. They were national pride, floating embassies of progress. In that era, crossing the Atlantic by ship was no small thing. It was a voyage of status, of business, or of survival. For some, it was the height of luxury. For others, it was the only escape from poverty. Cunard had just launched two greyhounds of the sea, the Lusitania and the Mauretania. Fast, sleek, record breakers. White Star needed an answer, not speed, but size. Enter J. Bruce Ismay, chairman of White Star Line, and Lord William James Pirrie, the powerful shipbuilder behind Harland and Wolff in Belfast. Together, they imagined something unprecedented. 3 ships, gigantic, opulent, unrivaled in comfort and capacity. Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic, in that order. And so the blueprint of history's most famous ship was quietly sketched in the boardrooms of London and Belfast, not with fanfare, but with calculations. It would be over 880 feet long, displacing more than 46,000 tons, with space for over 2,400 passengers and 900 crew. It would have 4 giant funnels, only 3 were necessary. Building the Titanic construction began in March 1909 in Belfast, Ireland. Harland and Wolff's massive shipyard was already full, and the Titanic was over 15,000 workers involved. Men, most of them young and strong. Many would suffer, some would die. The work was hard, the hours long, took shape beside her sister ship, the Olympic. Side by side, they looked like 2 mountains of steel. Titanic was fractionally larger, a few inches longer, slightly heavier. Her keel was laid in 1909. By May 1911, she was ready to launch. The launch drew a crowd of over 100,000. Dignitaries, workers, locals. But no champagne was broken on her path. White Star preferred quiet, practical. She slipped into the river Lagan, slowly, gracefully, the largest moving object ever created by human hands. Then came the fitting out, the luxurious interiors, the engines, the furnishings. Titanic's interior was modeled after the Ritz Hotel. Grand staircases, dining salons, Turkish baths, a gymnasium, even an onboard newspaper. The ship was divided into first, second, and third class, and the gap between them was vast. First-class passengers would enjoy palm courts, private promenades, and silver service. Third-class passengers, many immigrants, had shared bathrooms and slept in bunks. But even this was better than most had known. Titanic's power came from 29 boilers, feeding steam to 2 massive reciprocating engines and a low-pressure turbine. Combined, they produced over 46,000 horsepower. By early 1912, Titanic was nearly ready. She was scheduled to sail on April 10th, 1912. Chapter 3. The Voyage Begins. April 10th, 1912. Southampton, England. A cool, grey morning. The Titanic, gleaming and enormous, towers over the docks. Porters haul trunks. Families say goodbye. Stewards check names. The gangways are crowded. On board, over 2,200 souls. Rich and poor, famous and anonymous, all bound for New York City. First stop, Cherbourg, France, then Queenstown, Ireland. Among the first-class passengers, John Jacob Astor IV, one of the richest men in the world, Benjamin Guggenheim, Isidore and Ida Strauss, Margaret Molly Brown. In second class, teachers, clergy, merchants, comfortable but modest. In third class, over 700 people, mostly immigrants from Ireland, Scandinavia, and Eastern Europe, hoping for a better life in America. The ship was not full, only about 2/3 of her capacity, but that still meant thousands of meals a day, thousands of linens, and a small city's worth of maintenance. The ship glided into open sea. The engines hummed. The North Atlantic awaited. Chapter 4. Life aboard Titanic. Life aboard Titanic varied wildly depending on who you were. First class was elegance incarnate. Passengers dined on oysters, filet mignon, and peaches in chartreuse jelly. They drank French wine and dressed for dinner. They danced, socialized, read newspapers printed on board. Their cabins were suites, some with private promenades. The decor was lavish: oak panels, velvet upholstery, crystal chandeliers. Second class was respectable: comfortable cabins, good food, and a library, suitable for professionals and middle-class travelers. Third class was simpler: crowded cabins, shared facilities, and simple meals, but it was clean and modern, and for many immigrants the best they'd ever known. Children played, couples walked the decks, crew worked tirelessly below. The ship was alive, and yet, in many ways, divided. Each class was confined to its own spaces. Few from first ever saw the third-class sections. Few in third had any idea what luxury floated just above them. Yet all were part of the same journey. Chapter 5. Into the ice. The North Atlantic in April was treacherous. Icebergs drifted south from Greenland. The weather was cold but clear. The seas mostly calm. On April 14th, 1912, Titanic received multiple warnings from other ships. Ice ahead. Some messages were ignored. Others never reached the bridge. The ship steamed on at nearly full speed. Captain Edward Smith, experienced and respected, was due to retire after this voyage. The night was moonless, the sea eerily calm. No waves broke against the ice to reveal it. At 11:40 p.m., lookouts spotted something, a shape looming in the darkness. Iceberg right ahead. The warning came too late. Chapter 6. Collision and Confusion. Titanic struck the iceberg on her starboard side. The impact was subtle, no dramatic jolt. Some passengers barely noticed, but below the surface, a 300-foot gash opened across 5 compartments. The ship could stay afloat with 4 flooded, not 5. Water poured in, cold, relentless. Captain Smith was informed. The ship was doomed. Lifeboats were uncovered. Distress rockets were fired. The band played on. But there were not enough lifeboats. Only enough for about half on board. Women and children first. That was the order. Some boats launched half empty. Some passengers refused to believe the ship was in danger. Others were locked below, waiting for permission to reach the decks. Confusion reigned. Chapter 7. The final hours. The bow dipped lower. The stern rose. The angle increased. By 2 a.m., most of the lifeboats were gone. Hundreds remained aboard. The lights flickered. At 2:18 a.m., the ship broke in two. The stern rose high, then sank vertically into the sea. Silence. The survivors, in lifeboats, watched helplessly. Over 1,500 people perished. Most died of cold within minutes. The Carpathia arrived 2 hours later. She picked up 705 survivors. Chapter 8. Aftermath and legacy news of the disaster shocked the world. Families waited at ports, hoping for good news. Most received only grief. Investigations followed. In the U.S. Senate, in British courts, testimony was heard. Blame was passed. Regulations changed. Lifeboat requirements were increased. Ice patrols were established. Titanic faded beneath the sea. But she never disappeared from memory. Books, films, museums. And at the bottom of the Atlantic, 2 miles down, her wreck remains, silent. A monument to ambition, to tragedy, to lives lost and remembered. And so, the story of the Titanic ends where it began, in the cold, open sea, not with a scream, but with silence.